I'm Julia Page from Crowning Lotus, and I'm here to teach you my favorite breathing technique for labor. So these are my favorite techniques. These are things that I teach people in that third prenatal when I'm trying to prepare them for all the ways that they can get through their birth. You know, generally we like to come in at a later stage. We don't want to run right to our clients, you know, as soon as they're in labor. That's a great way to burn us out as well. You want to save your doula's strength for when things are getting really, really real and you need that extra support. And by that time, you guys are really tired. So having your doula be refreshed and come in is like, this breath of fresh air. And she comes in and you just know she's got all these tricks and she's got all these things that she can do. And so it revives the whole situation. And so when you've been practicing all of these breathing techniques, you're better able to get through as far as you can on your own. And that ends up being a really special time. You and your partner can learn to work together. I also suggest really practicing these kinds of things in pregnancy. Don't just expect to go into labor and figure out how to breathe. Don't expect to go into labor and figure out how to relax. You need to be moving that body, breathing, relaxing, practicing all of the time. So it starts with this. The first thing that you need to know is that when you feel your contraction coming, there's this little feeling right before it gets there. I cannot explain it. It's just sort of like a knowing. You're like, oh God, here it comes. In that split second, that is when you want to take your first big cleansing breath, right? You want to breathe and fill that belly and fill those lungs deeply. And then you want to exhale deeply as well. That's your first cleansing breath. And then throughout your contraction as it peaks, because it's going to be just like a wave, just like this, right? So you start here, you take your deep cleansing breath, and as you're building and going all through this, you're breathing in evenly and breathing out evenly. So however many seconds that needs to be for you, it should be at least three to like 5 or 6 maybe is about the right area to be in. You don't want to do too short, don't want to do too long. You want to do something right nice in the middle. And then when it's all done, you're on the other side of the hill, and then that last little bit, you take your other deep cleansing breath. So there's one on each end, and in the middle you're just breathing evenly. So what that would look like, okay, first of all, let me tell you too, that deep breath, that first deep breath, can be your signal to your team. You got to have a signal that your contraction is coming, right? So it could either be the deep breath, or maybe you put your hand up and you're like, okay, it's coming. But this lets everybody in the room know to shut up and focus on you and do whatever they got to do to get you through your contraction. So it might look like this. You're like, okay, here comes. All the air comes out. It's getting more intense here. Letting out sound. It's coming down. You take one more breath. And then we come back to the room, right? You notice how I included a little bit of sound in there, right? Sound is so helpful. Sound helps us relieve everything. So as your labor continues to go, try to incorporate sound. The more intense it gets, the more you need that sound. So the next big thing to remember or to try to incorporate is mindfulness. You would be completely shocked at how much your brain has control over what's going on with your body. I could tell you so many stories that would blow your mind. So just like you can hold yourself back from labor, you can also go into labor. You can really allow yourself to submerge into what's happening. So how I like to tell people to do this is kind of incorporate sort of a yoga nidra sort of technique where, I don't know if you've done yoga nidra or not, but usually it's you tense up a spot and then you breathe into it and you totally relax that spot. A lot of times they want you to go from foot to head, but we really encourage people to go from the head down because we want babies to go down, right? We don't want them to come back up. So my suggestion to people is to start right at the crown of their head, right when they're getting their contraction. That first deep breath should be right here. And it's almost like, remember that like cracking of the head or the egg thing that people used to do on you? It feels kind of like that, right? You just want it to be like all over you, kind of just washing over you like a waterfall. The main focal points that you'll want to focus on and that you want your partner to look for are points of tension, right? So as you're coming down your head, the next spot would be right here. You want to make sure that this is smooth like butter, right? You want it to be just open, soft, everything is soft and relaxed. So you start there. If you're all scrunched up like this, if you're like, having all of these issues, it's going to be very hard for you to actually allow your bottom to relax and allow this labor to progress. And when that happens, you have really long labors, and it's just harder. The next spot is the jaw and the tongue even. So you're like open mouth. The tongue is relaxed. Shoulders are down. They're not scrunched up like this. Arms are even relaxed. You go down your shoulders, through your hips. The whole thing, you're just shaking off any tension as you go down, right? Your partner can be extremely helpful for this too, because sometimes you don't even know you're doing these things, and you just need somebody to bring you back and to say, oh babe, relax your forehead. Or sometimes even just placing a thumb right here. It's really hard to scrunch your forehead up when there's a thumb there. Or sometimes I'll lay my palm like this, and she'll just press so hard into my palm, and it's just right there for her, and that's comforting, and it feels really good. So that's one of the ways that your partner can actually help you. And even like with your mouth, babe, open your mouth, soften your tongue, soften your shoulders. All these things, just very gently bringing that awareness to these other places. And then it also distracts. So this is like a triple whammy, right? Like you're breathing, you're relaxing, and you're distracting. Those are like the main components that you want to get you through the labor, for sure. The other thing that you can do is mindfully connect yourself to opening up. You can either say, I am opening, and I am opening. You can have a mantra of some sort, whatever works for you. One of the things sometimes I have people actually visualize is what's going on with the cervix and the baby. So let's talk a minute about what's going on in a contraction, right? Like what is even happening? How do babies even come out, right? So we've got like this balloon of the uterus, just like this, and down here we've got the cervix. Opening is one thing, that's dilation. Shortening or thinning, that's effacement. Okay, and then it goes all onto the top of the uterus. So what happens basically is all that muscle and all that tension that was right here, it has to, those contractions pull and pull and pull like this until all of that tension gets to the very top of the uterus. And then you're fully dilated, you're fully effaced, you're fully ready to have this baby at this point, because all of that mass is now at the top of that, and it actually pushes the baby out. Did you know that women can have babies when they're in comas? You don't have to do anything. I think that's a beautiful thing, right? Like, you can remember that through your whole process. You really don't have to do anything but get out of your own way. Breathe your baby down. Connect with what's going on. So one of the things that I like to have people do, I'm going to stand up for this one, is when they're breathing, you almost want to imagine that uterus, how it's pulling all of that tension up, right? So connect your mind with that as you breathe in. You're breathing all the way up to the top of your belly, right here. And when you breathe out, you imagine that baby coming down. So it's... And then when you can do that, and when you can actually, create a way for your brain to kind of connect with your body and tell it what to do, it will respond that way, and it will begin to do that, which is so great, because then you open up faster, you have an easier labor, and you have your baby. Like, there's no reason to sit around and suffer, right? And so what we find is really women just make it really hard on themselves, and they fight it and fight it. Their hips are so tight, and they don't want to move. They don't want to do anything because they're scared. They're scared of what this is going to be like, because this hurts really bad. So if I let go, how much worse is it going to get? But the thing is, if you let go, it gets better, and it gets over. That's the big thing too. It's like, well, if you don't want to do this all day or for another 2 days, then you gotta let it go. You gotta breathe it out. if you can't do that, it's going to be harder. Every night before you go to bed, you can do this yoga nidra routine where you're breathing from the crown down. You could actually, do it just like yoga nidra does, where you could just really, really tense all of this and then let it go. And then really, really tense this and then let it go. Really, really tense this and let it go. Work your way all the way down your body. Do that every single night, and that will give you so much more control over your muscles, over what's going on. It will give you more awareness. It's just a great thing to incorporate. Trust me. Thanks again. I'll see you soon.